Welcome to today's session. I believe we have some of the old participants as well and who fully understands the scope and the reason for this training. However, for the advantage of those joining us for the first time, this is the Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations training. So the aim for us is to look at the basics, Dynamics 365, as well as how to enable anyone who is new and wants to do a career path in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. All right, so without wasting much time, I'll review the agenda for today. In the last session, we tried to deploy a Dynamics 365 for finance and operations trial environments. However, that did not go well because of certain issues we had. So we need to have a review of that process. Give me a minute, guys. I think I see some echo. Just a minute, guys. That's in the echo here now. All right. Is it better now?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, it can go ahead.
All right. So after reviewing the deployment of Dynamics 365 for FNSCM trial environments, the next thing we want to take a look at is how to create a legal entity, or probably how to create a company. What are the prerequisites? What are the key things to look out for when you're creating a new company, which is the first thing you want to do when setting up a system, all right? And then if we have more time, we'll look at the next thing, which is number sequence. Why is it important? How do we create a number sequence? And where will these number sequences be available and can be used in the system? All right. So without wasting much of our time, I'll switch to the system proper. So in our last session, I was trying to explain two ways how you can access Dynamics 365 for trial environments. All right, so one I said is that you go into this website, learn.microsoft.com, and here you can just navigate into the labs that are publicly available by Microsoft. All right, so I will just pick Dynamics 365 in the list. I say finance, for example. And then these are the basic training you have in Dynamics 365 for finance as made available by Microsoft. So we just try to look at which of these trainings have the labs available. So let's pick one. In this one, we don't have the lab. So let's go back. And then we can look at let's see this guy. Yeah, so here we have a lab environment. And then we just click on this. Okay, let's try to sign in. So here you can sign in with your personal account, your Gmail, your Outlook account will grant you access to the lab. Okay. So I just need to log in. Correct. So it's preparing. All right. So this is my VM. And now I need to log into the Windows. How do I get the credentials? I click on the resources, and here I can see the credentials. So here is the password for the local admin, and I'm able to sign in. Right. Normally, the browser should load by default, but if it's not loading, you can, yeah, it's up. So I need to supply the credentials, and here Microsoft has made available the login credentials to this machine. So I click on the username, and then I access the temporary access pass. So this should give me access to this virtual machine. Wow, same issue. Okay. So let's pick another lab. It's, so let me go for another lab. Concurrencies. So let's try this one. So while that is going, while this is loading, let me try to see if I can access the lab here. Okay, I'll try to sign in. I just wait for the browser to load. All right, so this is the URL. Let me copy and try to manually launch. It's not working. All right, I hope this one comes through. Link. You know. Okay, let me find the lab from the supply chain side. I don't know why this is happening. Let's try this guy. Launch. See it. All right, so while that is going on, let me take on the second process. So the second process I did say is that you can also create a trial environment using the Power Platform portal. And how you do that is that you need to sign in with an Office 365 account. All right, so in our preliminary sessions, we discussed about authentication, that before you can access Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, you need to have an Office 365 account. Basically, your authentication is done using the Azure Active Directory. Okay, so here I have my Office 365 account, which is this guy. Just a minute. And then I have this password. I just need to authenticate. Yes, it's me. All right, so this is my Office 365 portal. And then I need to go to the admin. Here in the admin, I need to navigate to Marketplace. And in the Marketplace, I need to subscribe to Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. So where is applications or products? And then I'll just look for Dynamics 365. So there are a list of Microsoft products here. So I'm only interested in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. Show all. See what I was getting. Looking out for dynamics. All right, so I can see supply chain. Let's use this guy. And I go to the details. So now I need to click on start free trial. And then of course, I'm supposed to provide my details. So guys, just give me a minute. Let me authenticate and fill in my payment details. All right. So here you can see that my sign up is complete. And then when I go back to the admin, I need to grant this user access license. So on the licenses tab, I find Dynamics 365. All right, so finance was already there. Now I assign supply chain to it and I click on OK. So this user has access to Dynamics. What I need to do now is go into admin.powerplatform.com. Okay, in here, I need to now provision Dynamics. And how you do that is simple. You click on the Manage tab, and then you have a list of environments here. So I need to provision a new environment. I click on New, give it a name. Trial. All right, so this is not a managed environment. We won't go into the concept of managed environments now. All we are interested in is just to provision a basic trial environment. All right, so I'm not in any group. And then you can select a list of your region. I don't want only the new features. I want the full application with the demo data. So I don't need to turn this on. And then I select trial from my list. All right, you can see how the database data store is enabled by default. And I go to next. Language is English, currency is this. I need to add a security group. Let's say this is available for everyone in the company. And then I will want to enable my Dynamics 365 applications. And then here I need to choose from the list of the ones I already have access to. Remember, in Office 365, I granted access to supply chain management. So I have it here. I'll just select on the list and click on Save. It's that easy. And then the system will provision your trial environment. All right. So while that is running, let me show you here. So this is already done and ready. When I click on the link, I have a link where I can log into Dynamics correctly. So I just click on this link, and then that will take me into my trial environment. All right, so it's that simple. The basic thing you need is that you need to have an Office 365 account, and this becomes your custom environment. So unlike the public environment where the data is overwritten every day or thereabouts, this one, you have it available for you for, I think, 1 month. All right. So just waiting for this to load. Okay, so I have my brand new Dynamics 365 for finance and operations trial environments. All right. It's simple, straightforward to provision. All right, so this takes us into our second topic, how to create a legal entity. Okay. All right, are we together so far? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
we are.
All right. Thank you so much for that confirmation. So when we say what's a legal entity or what's a company, we did explain initially that Dynamics 365 is a multi-legal entity application, sorry. So the concept of legal entity simply means that, Dynamics is able to support an organization that have operations in different countries, regions. For example, a company can have a manufacturing plant in China, for example, and then they manufacture the products in China, and then they also have a distribution plant, maybe like in the US, in Nigeria, South Africa, in Europe. They all have distribution hubs there, right? These are different legal entities on their own. Dynamics gives you the opportunity to configure each of those different companies, as a legal entity in finance and operations. All right, so if you look on this list, On our freshly provisioned environment, we can see a list of demo company that have been set up. You can have companies in Germany, in the US, in Korea, in China, and the rest of them. So we are going to create a fresh legal entity, and that's what we'll be using going forward. All right. So to create a company is very simple. Click on the hamburger here, navigate to your models section, and then you find organizational admin. And in the organization admin, you have a menu called legal entities. You click on that. Okay, that's loading. All right. Now we need to create a new legal entity. All right. So come on the new menu. And then we give it a name. Can someone propose a name?
Track IT.
Track.
Track IT.
All right. And then, of course, you want to give it an acronym. Normally, so let's call it this track. And then the country region is very important. If you remember in our previous discussion, we did say that Dynamics 365 supports localizations for different countries. So this could be tax regulations. This could be, think of it as different business processes that are mandatory in different countries. And then the country wants the users or the people in that region to enforce the use of these processes. So localization could be, in our terms, tax, for example. The government implements strict or certain specific tax regulations, and you want your system to be able to, work in line with that and produce the relevant records. All right, so you need to ensure that you specify the right country when you're creating your legal entity. So for example, if you pick a company in Germany, if you select Germany as your country, it means all of the localizations or the specific features that are relevant in Germany will be defaulted. All right, so here I will say my company is in did I say Nigeria on the list? Yes. All right, so I say my company is in Nigeria, for example, and I click on OK. So the system will create a new company called Track IT. So we just wait for that to load. Okay, so our company is created. And the next thing we want to do is to ensure that we are working in the newly created company. So now we need to change our company to Track IT. It ensures that we are working in the right company. Okay. So here you can see Track IT. Now we need to fill in these details. Some of these details are actually very important. So on the memo field, we can say, just like an advanced description of this company. Track is an IT company based out of Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, let's leave it at that. All right, in hierarchy, this menu is not turned on by default. You can't turn this on. This will be enabled when you start working with the organizational hierarchy. You know, for example, the employee hierarchy, where you have an employee reporting to a manager, and then you set up those hierarchies. All right. So once that is done in this legal entity, then this menu will be activated. By default, you cannot manually turn this on. All right. So there's a menu here called Use for Financial Consolidation Process. Now, we did say that the company has branches in different locations. So there's a manufacturing plant in China, there's a distribution plant in Nigeria, in the US, in Ghana, in South Africa, in Europe. Now, all of those different countries are running their different operations, right? And then at the end of the day, the group will want to see one report, one consolidated report for the entire operations. All right. So you want to enable consolidation so that all of the operations there, can be harmonized. So if you turn this on, you are saying to the system that this legal entity is going to be used for financial consolidation, or for just in Nigeria, we used to say this is a group account, right? So when we turn this on, you are saying that you want to use this legal entity to produce an account for the entire group of companies. All right. But note that when you turn this on, you will not be able to post transactions in this legal entity. So you will not be able to create journals, you will not be able to create invoices and all of those transactions. All right. So, which is not what we want to do. So we'll turn this off. All right. Again, same thing for financial elimination process. These are all part of consolidation processes. Okay. The next thing I want to do is specify a language. Of course, someone in China will not want to set US as his default language. Sorry, dash US. Yeah. English. So I want to use English US. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you,
Very
sir.
Okay.
well.
I hear some echo. All right. So another important thing here is the time zone. You want to ensure that you're working in your time zone. All right. So you don't want to be in Nigeria working and then you set your time zone to Alaska, no? You want to ensure that you're working within your time zone. Of course, remember that your audit logs will use these timestamps, to track transactions when you enable them. So I'll be looking at Nigerian time zone should be this one. All right. So let's save this. Okay. So the next thing we want to look at is the addresses. Addresses is very important because these are used to represent documents that will be printed from your legal entity. All right. So you see that when we're creating the legal entity, we did specify the country, and that is enabled here by default. But let's edit this. All right. So here we have different things. We can, of course, put an extended name for this legal entity. And on the purpose, we have different purposes. Here you see this is business by default, but of course you have the option to choose if this address will be for a consignment, for delivery, fixed assets, different things, whether it's an invoice address, you can specify that. And also remember that you have the option to create multiple addresses for different purposes. So here I want to say my address is in, what do I call this? Say maybe engineering close in VI. So let's see, we have the states, the country, no? So I don't want to go into this so we don't get mixed up. When we get into the next session of creating addresses, you'll begin to see how each of the states, the city, and the zip code are created. All right, so let's leave it as is, since we don't have any defaults. And then the next thing is that you see that the primary button is enabled, meaning that this is your primary business address. All right, so this is your head office address. So let's save that. And on the next tab, we have the contact information. Of course, I want to put contact information for this legal entity. Maybe the official email will be info@trackit.com. And I can say this is a primary address. You have the option to expand on this by clicking on the advanced tab. And then you can do one or two other settings from here. Let's create another contacts for telephone. Of course, the type is phone. And then we say this is the phone address. All right, so we have two contacts for this legal entity. And of course, when we are printing our documents, we might leverage on this and put these contacts on either the invoices or the POs that you're sending out, or the sales invoice that you're issuing to your customers. You can leverage on this and include this in your documents. On the statutory part, we'll leave this. The next thing I want to look at is the bank account. Now you have the option to fill out the bank account, but of course it's not mandatory, so you can always leave this blank. On the number sequence, which is our next topic, currently you can see that nothing is filled in. All right, everything is blank, meaning that no number sequence is generated on the legal entity. Okay. Then the next important thing is this. So normally for most organizations, they want to change the display image on the legal entity. So when you log in on your dashboard, that image you see, you want to change it, assuming maybe you want to fill in your official company logo. All right, you have the option to change these defaults. You just say you want to include a banner here, and then you click the option to change, and the system will give you a menu to upload your image. And by so doing, you get to change what is the default image on your dashboard. All right, you have the option to do that if you want to do that. And again, too, on your reports, what image do you want to show? You can do that here. All right, I think that is it. Those are the key important things for creating a basic legal entity. All right. There are things here that you can leverage on later on as we go along. You can see electronic document properties, registration IDs, these are specific settings that will be required in certain modules as you go along. You will find the need to come back here and make some modifications. All right, but for us to move forward with this session, this is the basic thing we need to be able to create a legal entity and then transacts with that legal entity. All right. So let's save this and then move into our next topic, which has to do with number sequence. At this point, I want to take questions if there's any question. Can I proceed?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you for the section so far. So I just want to ask, you can delete a legal entity that you created already, right?
Yes, if there is no transactions on that legal entity. So assuming this is blank and you want to delete, you can just hit on the delete button and that will be done. But once you start posting transactions, maybe you've created a customer or you've created a vendor or you've created journals in the legal entity, you will not be able to delete. Yeah?
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that being done, the next thing we want to do, or the next important thing is to generate our number sequence, right? What are number sequences? Number sequences are basically a unique identification number that is required by the system, right? So for transactions, you want to post a journal, the system will require you to have a specific voucher number. You want to create a new customer or a new vendor, that vendor account, will be required by the system. All right, so the number sequence is what helps you create this specific set of data. All right, this unique identification that will be reused either in transactions or in creation of master data. Master data could be your bank, could be your vendors, your items, your customers, all of these things. So the next thing we want to do is to go into creation of the number sequence. So here we can see again in the hamburger icon, we go back to
Sorry, can I
organization
ask a
of
little
you.
question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Must you have a Microsoft 365 account before you can get the Dynamics?
Yes, so I did explain to you that there are two options you have. The first option is the one we were trying to do, which is you leveraging on the public environment that's already available by Microsoft. And then the second option is this one is the first option, where you can just create or log into the public environment that is already available by Microsoft. All right. The second option is the one I just did, where I am able to provision a trial environment using the Power Platform Admin Center. All right. So before now, we used to use what is called the lifecycle service, but of course, Microsoft is transitioning from that platform now into Power Platform, and that's why you see that I could provision Dynamics 365 F&O from the Power Platform Admin Center. Yes, you need to have an Office 365 account, and then you need to also assign the license, which is that process I did, right? Where is it? So you need to come in here on the marketplace, you find the application, or products. Here in the marketplace, you need to look for the application. And then you need to enable the free trial, So it's already enabled for me. So I'm not sure I can find it here. But so assuming this is the application that I want to enable, okay, this is free as well. And all I need to do is click on it and then click on this guy. it will require me to just put in my account details, but of course it's zero. It's not charging you, right? It's not charging you. It's only after the free trial is expired and then you want to extend it. Of course, then you now need to start paying. Yes, so you need an Office 365 account, and then you need to also assign the license from Office 365 before you can come into the Power Platform environment and just click on New Environment, and then you can provision it. This guy is still provisioning. Yeah, is that fine?
Thank you very much.
All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is the number sequence. Our number sequence is just unique identifiers that is required by the system for either transaction purposes or master data creation. All right. So again, from the hamburger icon, I navigate to the models and I click on organization administration. In here, I can find number sequence. So I click on my number sequence menu item. All right. Now, before we generate this, let's go to the models. For example, if I go into my accounts payable, and then I go into the setup, accounts payable parameters. So I want to show you what is before we generate this number sequence. Come on. All right, so on every menu, you have what is called the parameters, and on the parameters, you will always see number sequence as one of the tabs. Here you can see all of the transaction types or master data that is required, to leverage on this number sequence or where the number sequence is required. So for example, if I want to create a vendor account, the system will be looking for a number sequence where it can use that format to generate the vendor account number or account code. So currently, as you can see, everything here is blank. We do not have a number sequence for these transactions. So that is why you have to, first of all, generate your number sequence before you start running any transaction in the system. So again, I come back to my number sequence, and you have the option to do this manually, but of course, it's going to be very cumbersome. And that's why Microsoft has made available for you a wizard called Generate. So all you need to do is click on Generate. Let me duplicate my tab. So again, I want to set this to the parameters we just looked at, which is the accounts payable parameter. You can still again see that our number sequence is blank. So this is coming up. So we'll get a wizard where we will follow that steps to create or generate a number sequence. So let's just wait for it to come up. Come on. Okay, so before we continue, you can see the existing number sequence here, meaning that this table is a shared table. For all of the other legal entities existing, they will still be using the same table. All right, so for example, you can see there's an existing number sequence for this legal entity called GLSI, and for the other legal entities, USMF and the rest of them. So the table is shared, meaning that any record you find here can be used throughout the system in more than one legal entity. Come on.
So a question, please.
Yes, please.
So you can create multiple entities with same application.
Yes. So that's why we said that the system is a multi-entity application. You have the options to create as many as possible legal entities. I've worked with legal entity companies where you have more than 50 legal entities, and transactions are happening on all the entities, at the same time. Come on, why taking so long? So let me launch that again. Generate. So of course, this is expected because it's a trial environment. It's a tier 1 environment. If you remember when we were talking about the different types of environments, right? So it's expected that it will be a bit slow, but this shouldn't happen in a production environment. So if it happens in a production environment, then this should be escalated because this is a performance issue. Okay. Okay, while that is coming up, let me switch to a legal entity and just explain to you certain concepts about this number sequence. I'll be using the regular USMF, for example. All right, so if I come in here, back to the number sequence, I have the option to generate a number sequence manually. So for example, I want to create a new number sequence, right? And I call this customer sequence code. Okay. I want to call this customer account number. All right. So I did say that the number sequence is shared, meaning that if I want this number sequence to be used across different legal entities, right, I can just leave this as shared. All right. What it means is that in all the legal entities, right, this number sequence is available for use. Okay. But if I want it to restrict it to just this legal entity I'm working on, I need to change this to company. And then in here, I have the option to select the company I want it to work with. Right. So I want to use this in a new company called Track. Right. And on the segment, you can see. So I want to use this for customer accounts. Okay. And I want my customer account to have a unique numbering. So for example, certain companies will tell you, oh, our company Our customers, we want it to start from certain prefix, maybe CUST-001. Okay. Now you have the option to configure that on the segments. So let's click on save so that we're able to activate the menu. All right, so I don't want this company in between. So I don't want my customer number to have this company name. I just remove this. And on the constant, I will say, okay, this is the prefix I want. And then I want my numbers to be 6 digits, right? So what I'm saying is, for a new customer, this is the format I want to use in numbering my customers. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. So this is very common in implementations. You will always have the need to ensure that your customers or your vendors or your products have a particular referencing, okay? And maybe even in your invoices, I've worked in implementations where the company will say, okay, I want the invoice numbers to be INV, the year, the month, and then 4 numbers. So they will say, okay, I want my customer invoices to be IMV 2026 02-0001. You understand? So that whoever is picking up that invoice will know that, oh, this invoice was generated in 2026 of February. And then the 001 is now the reference of that invoice. So certain organizations will always bring up this kind of requirements. All of those things you can do from these segments. Okay. Now the references, we will not populate this. This will be automatically assigned when we update this number sequence on the parameter. So for example, I want to use this number sequence for customer accounts codes. So once I go to my parameter and I assign this, of course, the referencing will be automatically updated. All right. So let's close this warning. All right. The next important thing is the general tab. So you can see there's a stop menu here, meaning that if you don't want to continue the use of this number sequence, you can disable it by just enabling this stop menu or button. And then if you want your number sequence to be manually generated, you can turn this on, all right? Meaning that the system will not generate your number sequence for you. But by default it's off because you want the system to automatically fill in the number sequence. For example, we are dealing with customer account creation. So I want to say each time I click on create new customer, this is the processing. I want to say each time I click on new customer, all right, the system should automatically give me the number of that customer using this format that I've specified here. All right, so if I turn this on manually, that means I want to be the one to fill in the number for every new customer I create. All right, and then if I want it continuous, right, meaning that the next one will be 001, 002, 003. So it uses that continuous sequence. Then I can always turn this on. If I don't want it continuous, of course, I have the option to turn this off. All right, so let's turn this on and let's move forward. Now, there's another tab here called Allow User Changes. Allow user changes simply means that if I generate a number sequence, maybe 001, and I say the system should allow me to change that number from 1 to 5, for example, I can set this to yes. If I want it to allow me to set it to a lower number, I can just turn this on. Right, what it does is just giving the user the leverage. So after the system generates the number, automatically the user can still go to that number and change the number, either from 1001 to 002, as the case may be. So this one just gives you extra leverage to manually update your number sequence, even when the system has created that number for you. All right. Now, there's something called pre-allocation. Pre-allocation simply means, oh, sorry, before we move to that. So here you can see we have 6 numbers. So again, on the number allocation, we should ensure that our numbering is 6 digits here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we're saying is the smallest number will be 00001, and the largest number will be 9999 into 6 places, right? So when it hits this number, then the system will flag you
Sorry,
and tell
sir.
you, yes, please.
What's the number used for?
Sorry?
What's the number for?
Okay, so you see that here we had said that this is the format we want the system to name our customer account codes. All right, so this format will be CUST-000 into 5
Okay,
places
account
and then
codes.
1.
Okay.
Now, this is the counts the system is using to track, to say, okay, my next number is 1. Have I hit this largest number? If I hit this number, I should be able to notify the user that, look, the number is fully exhausted. Okay? So this is like a count for the system to use to track. All right? That's okay. Where am I in the number generation? Have I hit the highest number? If yes, then I need to notify the user. I can no longer create. All right, so this counts is automatically using this setup here. Right, so once it gets to 9999 into 6 places, then it will stop generating. All right, so that's what that is. Is that fine?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so the next thing we're talking about is the pre-allocation. Pre-allocation simply means take, for example, I have users posting invoices from 50 different locations. All right. And then the number sequence that is in use is the shared number sequence. So at every point in time, when those 50 users are attempting to post those invoices at the same time, all right, there will be a kind of performance delay because the system will be trying to allocate the next number to every transaction that is about to be created. All right. So the system will keep trying to allocate the number to each of those 50 invoices that are coming in at the same time, right? So those performance delays will exist. And then what we have here, pre-allocation, what it does is just to help us to, manage that performance delay. So for example, if I need to disable this for this to come on. So if I say I'm pre-allocating 5 or 10, for example, numbers to every user, okay? And then a user is these 50 users are attempting to create invoices. The system will say, okay, the first user 001 will create invoice 001. The next user 002 will be able to create invoice 11. The next user 003 will be able to create invoice 21. So for every user, it keeps 10 numbers and then allocates the next number after that quantity to the next user, allocate the next one after that quantity to the next user. So what it does is to manage that performance delay. All right. So take, for example, you have 3 users also trying to create a customer account. In this case, we are talking about customer accounts. And then I set this to 10. So I have 5 people or 3 people trying to create customer accounts in the system at the same time. What the system will do is simple. It says user 1, your customer number will be 001. User 2, the customer number will be 0011. User 3, the customer number will be 0021, right? So it keeps 10 of those numbers for each user, all right? So that way it enables you manage that performance delay. So instead of the system trying to allocate the next number to the next user, it just simply moves on and quickly allocates the next number after this quantity specified here.
Is
Are
a
we good?
question.
Yes, please go ahead.
What happens if the first user wants to extend his numbering?
So normally this is a routine maintenance by the system administrator. So the user doesn't even know that this is what is allocated to him, right? But in a normal production environment, like I said earlier, I've worked in environments where we have more than 50 legal entities. And this number sequence is a shared number sequence. You can have more than one persons trying to create a record at the same time, right? Somebody in Germany is trying to create a customer, somebody in Nigeria is trying to create a customer, somebody in Sweden or in China is trying to create a customer at the same time, all right? So instead of having those performance delays where the system will be trying to allocate the number and then it's, the system is just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, right? The system administrator can say, hey, let me just keep 3 numbers for every user, all right? And that person clicks and then is able to get the next number. This other person clicks and is able to get the next number. The other one clicks and is able to get a number. But the challenge is that these numbers will not be continuous. Instead of having the first user having 001, the next one having 002, the other one having 003. It will happen. So what will happen now in this case is that since you've reserved 3 numbers for the users, the first one will have 001, the next one will have 004, the next one will have 007, right? So that's the way it works. So that is this concept. Just trying to manage performance delays, while people are using the system so they don't start complaining. You can leverage this, right? But if you want your number sequence to be continuous, then you need to turn this on, and this one will automatically get disabled, meaning that you're enforcing that the next number will be the next number. So 1 is 001, 002, 003, right? So that's the way it works, right? Are we good?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we have.
All right, thank you so much. So let's save this. So this guy, this is strange. Okay, let me see. So now that we've created a number sequence for our customer accounts, let's assign it. So we come to the account receivable parameters. I don't know why it's taking so long. All right. So let's try to assign that number we created here. So on the number sequence parameter, you can see the first thing you have here is customer accounts. So I can drill down and look for that number. What did I call it? Yeah, this one. Okay. So I've assigned this one. 1 minute, I duplicate. So we look at the features of that number sequence. And while we're trying to create a new customer, let's see the behavior. So this is the number sequence I created. And I did say, so here you can see, because I've assigned it to this parameter, then the reference is automatically updated. And I've said that my number sequence starts with this prefix and it's 6 digits, all right? And it's a continuous number sequence. So let's try to create a new customer. So you don't need to focus too much on this because we have a session for this. But we're just trying to test out what we did, in our number sequence generation. Okay. So this is my customer master. It's blank, nothing created. So I need to create a new customer. All I did is just click on new. So you can see the system automatically generates this number exactly in the format I've specified here. All right, and it's telling me the number is 1. All right, so let's do one thing. Let's close this. Let's change this, set this to a higher number. Okay, and save.
I think there's a question. Someone is raising hand.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So I want to confirm, do you have to create a number sequence for every should I use the word module? Because you have
Okay, thank you so much.
vendors, you have probably somebody raised POs, all those things. Do you have our invoices? Do you have to like create number sequence for every one of them?
Yes, so for every module, as you can see on the parameter, there's a tab for number sequence. Here, the system will specify for you all of the transactions or the master records, master data that requires numbering, all right? And then, of course, the system will automatically fill that in when we do this task. Okay, it's up finally now. So before we take that question further, let's complete this. Okay. All right, so this is the wizard. It's easier for you as an administrator or a consultant that is implementing the system for the first time. You don't want to go into each of these and start creating numbers manually. You want to leverage this wizard to automatically create those numbers. Okay, so this is the wizard. You click on next. So here you see the system has identified for you all of the models and all of the references that will require numbering. Okay, so you don't need to do anything. And all you need to do is click on next. And it's telling you for accounts payable, you have this number of records. Of course, this is for all entities anyway.
Okay.
It's for all entities. All right, so
Sorry,
these
I'm
are
cutting
all.
you.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I'm cutting you short.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a way I can set it just like our legal entity track? Is there
Yeah.
a way I can set it from the wizard that every should I say, every prefix should start with this track or something?
Yes, so that's what we'll be doing now shortly. Just let's generate this. So of course, these are the number of records and the modules that these numbers will be generated for. And then I click on finish. And then the system will do its thing. All right. So while that is happening, we'll just leave this open. Yeah. I know we're past our time, but let's use the next 10 minutes to quickly finish this process. All right, so once this is done, you will find that the numbers are automatically filled in for all of these transaction types or master data. So it's still running. Let me take this out. It's taking a little bit of time. But yeah, we try to explain, how you can set up number sequence manually and then assign it to the transaction using this parameter. Okay. Again, I was trying to turn this button on. All right. So now I've turned this on. Let's go back and create a new customer. So I set my number sequence to be continuous, and also it should allow me change the number to a higher number. Okay. And I click on new. You see, it's giving me 001. However, it gives me the opportunity to change this. So I can say, I don't want this number as 1. I want it as 3. All right. I can change it to a higher number. And then I can go ahead and fill in these details. However, note, like I said, we will discuss all of this in subsequent sessions. Okay. I think that is done. So let's see. I go back to the parameter, number sequence. You can see these numbers are automatically filled in. However, if I say for my free text invoice, I want a particular format for the numbers that will be generated when I post a free text invoice. Just where I click and view details. Here you can see what has been generated for this transaction type for free text invoices. Again, I don't want the company name to be part of the number. And then I want it to take this format. So I want it to be free text INV. So when somebody sees this, you know that, okay, this is a free text invoice for 2026. Of course, the references has been filled and everything. And then I can decide to say, yes, this should be a continuous number, right? I don't want the system to skip the numbering. Okay. And then of course, the system should automatically generate the number. and I click on save. Are we good? So you can modify whatever has been defined by the system to suit your requirements, right? The wizard only helps you to automatically fill in all of those transaction types that are required to be numbered. Okay, so instead of you doing this manually, the system will generate it and populate it for all those transaction types. But of course, you have the option to modify and fill in any of the prefix or suffix as you would like. So that's it about number sequences. So at this point, I want to leave room for questions. Any question? Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Very,
Yes.
very well.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. So again, as a recap, I want to explain what we've done so far. So we've been able to see how to deploy FNSCM trial environments. I will admonish you to go back and try this out. Go to Office 365, create a trial account. It doesn't cost you anything. Create a trial account, follow the process, assign a Dynamics 365 license to that Office 365 account, and then navigate to make.powerplatform.com, and then create a trial environment just like what we've seen. That environment will help you have more hands-on in our subsequent sessions. Okay. Yeah, you can always come back when you have issues. You can always reach out on Teams. You can always reach out on WhatsApp on the group. We'll be more than happy to listen to you and resolve whatever doubts you have regarding this environment. So I expect that in the next session, everybody should have a trial environment setup that will be used. So as you go ahead, as you've seen in this session, you will not be seeing slides. You're doing full hands-on on the system, explaining the concepts, and then following through. Okay. So that environment is really important for you to continue with this class. And the next thing we've done is to look at how to create a legal entity. And then we've looked at the key fields that are required to be filled in, and when you're creating a legal entity and what those fields represent. And then we've also looked at how to generate the number sequence for a new legal entity, and then how you can, of course, manually create a manual number sequence and assign it to a transaction type or a master record. Of course, you can also modify whatever number sequence has been created and assigned by the system to suit your format. All right. So that's what we've been able to cover today. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you again this week, or rather